The Aaron Boone Report is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, the official sub sandwich shop of the New York Yankees. By Winters Brothers Waste Systems, conveniently rent a dumpster online at Winters, BROS, that's bros.com. Long Island's number one choice for waste removal, winterbros.com. And by Spectrum Mobile, get unlimited talk, text, and data. You can save up to 40%. Go to spectrummobile.com today. Manager of the New York Yankees, Aaron Boone, joins us as he does every week. AB, Carton, and Roberts, how you doing today?
Hey, guys. How you doing? I'm all right.
Good. Well, listen, congrats on the win last night, and we'll get into it, and just the overall really good play.
Four in a row.
You know, sometimes life, all the time, is more important than baseball, so I don't want to be remiss in that regard. How are the 7 or 8 members of the Yankee organization overall doing right now?
They're doing really well, which is a good thing in all this. Is that we had one of my coaches that had symptoms and didn't feel good for a day and a half or so, but otherwise the rest have been asymptomatic, and all of them now are feeling normal and good.
Great. Player-wise, I know they just announced a few moments ago. I think you've already talked to most of the media about it.
Yep.
Glaber tested positive, which is obviously scary because he had already had it back in December, had both vaccine shots, and now was tested positive again. First off, how is Glaber? Then secondly, what is the MLB protocol for what he's allowed to do as far as a timetable for a return?
Right. So he's doing well. I actually called him about an hour ago and didn't get through, so I haven't talked to him, but I know that he's feeling normal and good, and he has a place down here in Tampa, so he is quarantining at home and will continue to get tested. Even when we leave, we leave after the game tonight and head to Baltimore, and all the guys quarantining will continue to be tested while they're here. So down, potentially 10 days, at which time I think even if they're testing positive at that point, they're past the contagious standpoint and they're able to come back if they're asymptomatic. So we'll just see how the days unfold now.
If he starts testing negative in a couple of days, is there a timetable on how many negative tests or how many days he'd have to be out before you're able to bring him back?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he gets a couple tests. If then my understanding is it's 10 days, but I could be. Actually, I've been dealing with so much. I'm not sure if that's exactly sure. So I don't know if he has a couple of negative tests at some point in the next few days, if that puts him back in play a little bit sooner. I guess it's possible.
And I remember when we talked to you about you guys got over 85% vaccination. You don't have to wear masks on the bench. Yeah. And obviously we saw you guys with masks on. Is that changing for the time being? What's kind of the plan moving forward right now, since you do have a team that's mostly fully vaccinated? What happens from here on out?
Yeah, I'm just kind of going on the advisement of Major League Baseball, the doctors, obviously our training and medical staff and everything. So I've put the mask back on and, on the bench, as you've seen. So, if and when that gets relaxed, or when I'm ready to take it off, I'm going to kind of lean on the advice of our medical people and also Major League Baseball.
It's interesting, Aaron. Garrett Cole, who's I guess one of the player reps, said that before the first game against Tampa, when the story started to kind of unfold publicly, that I guess the players took a vote as to whether or not they felt safe to play, and that it wasn't unanimous. And I don't need to know names. I'm just wondering, is that an ongoing thing, or are there guys that you've kind of had to sit and chat with their counsel who are concerned about it beyond the scope? We're all concerned about it. But what's the clubhouse been like specifically in regards, to guys getting sick?
Yeah, I think by and large, guys have wanted to go play if that was the recommendation. And again, that's something that, we work very closely with Major League Baseball and their doctors, and there's certain parameters that have to be met. And obviously, I do think that they're putting our safety at a premium. So I think by and large, our guys have wanted to go out there and play. But yeah, we're having these conversations all the time. Obviously, being on the road, we're, together throughout the day. We have our team brunch where there's those interactions happening even when we're away from the field. Obviously, we're being as cautious as we can as far as just really trying to social distance and wear our masks when we're not out on the field and those kind of things. So, but those conversations are happening.
We're talking Aaron Boone, manager of the Yankees. Obviously, when a player is out, we all as fans can analyze, all right, how do you replace him at shortstop? And we'll get to that in a bit. But how about for you as a manager not having a lot of your key coaches? I mean, the pitching coach, Matt Blake, Phil Nevin, Reggie Willits. I don't want to leave guys out, but you're without a lot of guys who I'm sure you rely on a daily basis. How has that been, and how will it be over the next few days for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly been a challenge. I think one of the things maybe sometimes you take for granted, or I take for granted, is just that seamless, and by and large, our coaching staff and a lot of our staff members have now been together for a long time, so we kind of know everyone's role and what they do and what they bring to the table and how we communicate with one another, how the in-game communication things kind of happen, how I communicate with my base coaches, and nonverbal things, whether I'm given signs or whatever. These things have had to be, altered and updated and changed a little bit, and bringing different guys up to speed and some different guys on the staff or coaching staff taking on bigger roles, more to do. I'm fortunate. I'm so fortunate that not only, Carlos Mendoza, do I have an awesome bench coach that's so good at, assisting me, but also my staff as a whole. These guys have all stepped up, and I feel like we're in very good hands and been able to adapt, but it has been an adjustment here these last couple of days, no question.
Let's talk some baseball. Aaron Boone's with us. All right, the series is over, so that's good. They'd won like 7 straight series against you, so you kind of got rid of the boogeyman. And you did it in the kind of like anti-Yankee way. You're winning small ball games. You're winning, and that started with, with Washington. It's now in Tampa. And last night was just one of those games you want to wrap up and throw in a museum because Garrett was so good. And, of course, Chapman's been great. I mean, ridiculous the whole year. But your thoughts after the first 2 in the manner in which you're now winning games, which you weren't, obviously, earlier this year.
Yeah, no question. We've done it, a lot of different ways over these last couple of weeks. We've seen the offense start to trend up a little bit, although I know we still haven't found our stride completely. And obviously these last few games, we haven't, banged the ball around like I know we can and will. But we've done it with a lot of really good baseball. Obviously the pitching set the tone from our starters, and Garrett last night, Monty the night before. Our bullpen continues to be terrific. I feel like our defense is playing well. And in these games where we haven't put up big numbers offensively, we have had some really, winning at bats, some situational things in a low scoring game when it's tough to score. We've done what we've had to do, and that's been heartening, and it's good to see us just continuing to build off of, what we've been doing here really the last couple of weeks.
What was said, and was there an explanation on why Bill Miller threw out Clint Frazier after 2 seconds? Clint looks like, I don't know what he said, but it wasn't long. It was maybe a sentence, and he throws him out immediately. Did you ever get clarification from him on why he had such a quick trigger with him?
I did. I when I went out, to obviously Gardy went into the game at that point, and making that change on the card, I did ask what was said and found out what was said.
Was it bad?
It was more often than not, it's going to get you. What was said is going to get you run. There weren't expletives or anything like that, but more often than not, you're going to get run.
Okay. All right. It was just so quick. I mean, I think that was the thing that surprised everybody watching. All right. So it was rough. And by the way, Bill Miller had a terrible strike zone. I don't think Clint was that off base. I mean, my God. So that's your way of agreeing. That's fine. I'll do it for you. Bill Miller stunk last night. There you go.
I know. Is Judge playing tonight? I haven't seen the lineup. Yes, I know it's out.
Yes.
I was wondering after he had to run those 32 feet to catch that fly ball in the ninth. Plus, he was on base 3 times. I thought maybe he needed a break.
No, he's in there.
He is.
You got to hear Craig's lineup advice. It's the worst advice. Before this trip begins, he's like, you can't hit Aaron Judge third. Guy can't even make contact. Why are you batting him third? Yeah, has he done the last 2 days?
Well, listen, again, my criticism has empowered people to play well.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, right.
I wondered, you have friendships and relationships with these guys, and I wonder for you, when you see a guy like Aaron Hicks, who you've defended against all comers, the entire year, he's batting over 300, the last week or so. He, of course, has the sac fly that turns out to be the game winner last night. Mm-hmm. Do you get any extra level of satisfaction seeing a guy start to perform based on how you kind of had to defend him over the course of the first month?
Well, I would say, with all these guys, you become very invested and want your guys to do well because all that goes on behind the scenes and the work and it's a hard game and there's so much that we all pour into having guys go out there to perform at a high level and perform to their capability. So you're certainly invested in that. So anytime a guy has some individual success or turns a corner or gets through a tough stretch that they've been in, there's some satisfaction in that, and there's some joy you take in that as a coach, as a manager. But I don't know if it's like, vindication. I'm pretty comfortable and confident in who we have in that room and what they're capable of and what they should be doing, and I just want to see that come out in them. And that's part of our job is to pull it out.
As good as Garrett was last night, when he struck out the side in the eighth, was there any thought that he pitches the ninth, or was that decided beforehand? If he gets through the eighth, he's done because Araldis is ready to go and he's been so dominant anyway. Was there any conversation about it?
Well, first, let's hear what Evan has to say on it. What do you think?
Good call.
I want him to pitch the ninth. But
Yeah.
I'm biased towards, you know the deal. I just love great pitching, and I thought he was capable of it. Plus, you would have had Chapman available tonight. We both know Aroldis Chapman's not available tonight. So, yeah,
Right.
I would have done it, but I also I wasn't going to scream and yell about it because I also understand at 106 pitches, this is the world we live in. But, yeah, I think most fans love to see dominant pitchers keep going, and he had struck out 3 guys in a row, and I had the utmost confidence that even against the top of the order, he would have gotten 3 outs and you guys would have won, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. But I know you, and I want to reiterate: don't get so caught up in the pitches. I think 106 pitches last night in a 1-0 game where there was so much on the line, really from Jump Street. It was a litlittle bit different, and I just know in my communications, after the 7th inning, like. I told him I was going to have somebody up with him, if the 8th inning got long, and I'm starting to know, and I feel like I know Garrett pretty well, and know that he absolutely emptied the chamber in the 8th inning, and as dominant as he was, I knew that was it, almost without communicating with him. I just just felt like last night is the right thing to go with Chappie there in the ninth.
And by the way, related to that, so I made this comment to you, but Chapman's not available tonight. I assume in a 1-0 game, Aroldis is on alert. If you somehow felt, hey, Garrett's got a little bit left, if he's warming up in the bullpen and he's ready to come in a game he doesn't come into, that probably affects him from pitching today anyway. Is that fair? Like having him on standby could have affected him pitching the next day anyway, or no?
Well, not so much if I wouldn't have used him last night. Now, typically, I don't use, typically throughout the year, that last night is maybe a night where I would have stayed away from Aroldis, just being, I don't know that I've done 4 out of 5 in the last few years that I've been here.
Right.
But one of the things with Aroldis is, and we met extensively on it before the game last night, obviously, taking Aroldis' temperature every day and making sure, seeing where he's at and seeing where we were last night, that I went into last night's game feeling good about him being available, being up and in that 9th inning, especially as, one of the great things about Aroldis' year so far is, we have been able to stay away from him and protect him a lot. He obviously just went through this stretch where last night was 4 out of 5, but he's also been so much more pitch efficient that
Right.
I think it's taken a little bit less out of him because he's been so efficient this year.
And I also, I mean, you mentioned, because you never usually use guys 4 out of 5 days, which is understandable. Facing the Rays and a chance to beat them and win a series for the first time since July of 2019, that's got to play a heavy role, right?
Well, look, any division game I think takes on a little bit more meaning than a normal game, obviously. But I think, I think it was more determined before the game, like, okay, Aroldis is sound and good, and we feel good about tonight's a night where we would use them. And then obviously you have a game like that where it's this complete pitcher's duel where your ace goes out and deals for 8 innings. In my mind, it was like, all right, Aroldis is in this game. We have a chance to close it out.
Is the 3-day rule, because I could be wrong about this, I don't think you've used a reliever 3 days in a row in 2 years, outside of the playoffs last year with those funky rules. Is that a hardline rule? Like, there's no way we'll ever see Chad Green 3 days in a row, or Aroldis Chapman 3 days in a row until the postseason. Is that a hard, fast rule?
No, I think, no, it's not. It's, a general rule that I go by, so I rarely do it. I think I've used somebody 3 days in a row one time this year. Sometimes it's, I may have used a guy for an out or two in a game. So I had him available for that.
I'm curious.
Game. I'm not even sure. I think I did it once last year, maybe once the year before. It's incredibly rare. It's something that I usually stick to. But, sometimes there's a game where a guy comes in and, throws a pitch. Wandy Peralta came in and got 1 out the other day. Got Juan Soto out to end the inning. It was the only pitch he threw in the game, and it was back-to-back, and I probably had him available the next day. So, look, you adjust, there's always conversation on it. We're always kind of moving through, but as a general rule, I do stay away from it.
Wrapping it up here with Aaron Boone. It's funny you talked about the offense. There's been a couple games where it looked like, okay, they're about to break out. But just looking at your schedule, the next 7 games between, 4 against Texas, 3 against Baltimore, and then if I count tonight's game as the 8th, there's only one pitcher with an ERA under 4, in the entire week and a half, over the next week and a half. So, do you have the sense yet that the breakout is close? I know we've talked about it a few times, and you did have a couple moments, against Detroit, obviously, and then coming home, with the series against the Astros. How close do you really think it is? And do you think this week will be the breakout, just considering who the pitchers you're going against are?
I hope so. I do feel close because knowing, I'm looking at our lineup and our roster right now, and I know what these guys are capable of. So, and obviously with Luke being back in the mix now, that's obviously a big deal and what he brings to the lineup. So, and I do feel like by and large, a lot of our guys are in a much better place than they were, we're in that 2-week stretch early on where we were really struggling as a group offensively. I feel like we're in a much different place. Now, we're still waiting on a couple of them to really bust out like they're capable of.
Right.
So I always feel like it's boiling at the surface, especially when we're fairly healthy.
Is there anybody you need me to be critical of just to get them out of the slump?
Yeah, who was it last week?
Well, I turned Stan's entire season around. Then I turned Judgy around for the series. Anybody else you need me to just
go
say
after
something?
Clint, get him going.
Clint Frazier?
Yeah, get Clint going.
Well, it's Clint Frazier should be benched for a couple days, I think.
That'll work.
Hopefully we're talking about that next week then.
I wouldn't keep him in the lineup. He's an automatic out.
Turned around.
Yeah, they call him double play in the dugout.
Oh, jeez. Don't pick on my fellow redhead, man.
Listen, be well, stay healthy, and all that, because as much as people don't think of ball players as human beings, we get it. And I know that there's a lot more going on than just baseball. So stay safe, stay well, and we look forward to your return home and, of course, having you on the show again next week. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Aaron.
All right, there's Aaron Boone.